met before, and go around. You'll meet the other counselors tonight as well. So,
Great.
yeah. So we're excited to have you. Yeah. Just waiting for a heads up from the corporate officer that we can begin.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
Okay. Did you see Chris Wolf in the audience?
I don't yet. If I do see him, I will move him over.
And we're looking also for Councilor Diendrad.
She's definitely not in the audience, but
There now. I see her now. Yeah. Yeah. So I'd spoken to Chris about 20 to 7, and he was going to try to join us. So just give him a second to do that. In the meantime, we will begin our meeting. So I'd like to welcome everybody this evening to the regular meeting of council for November 17, 2020, and acknowledge that tonight we are meeting on the territory of the Squamish Nation. We have with us tonight, I'm just going to go for my screen, Councillor Kroll, Councillor Ladwig, Councillor Diendrad, and Councillor Lumley. In addition, we have our youth councillor, Gravity Guinard, and Evie Clark, our newest member of the youth councillor team, who we're going to be swearing in very shortly. It's my pleasure to do this every year. We've done this now 2018, 2019. We have had so far a total of 6 youth councillors representing the youth of our community. Jason Lewis, who has gone on now to be the area representative for Area E, the alternate representative to the regional district. Sasha Stipek, Ailish McKenzie, and of course, Gravity Guinard. And Evie, you'll be number 5. I think I might have said 6, but you'll be number 5. So I welcome you in that context. So our program is very much very unique and being monitored and watched by others, I'm aware. So you have a responsibility as youth counselors because we are the only or the other municipality in the province who has youth counselors, and it's a unique program. It was started by us, by this council in 2018. David Kroll, Councillor Kroll, has been very instrumental in working with the high school and the school district on the program to get it established. And it's become one that we are very proud of. I'm very proud of our students. We are going to go through the process tonight of swearing you both in. Gravity rises from being the alternate youth counselor to the youth representatives, and Evie, you will be the alternate. It is, in essence, as Gravity learned, a 2-year term, which it's not mandatory that you stay for the 2 years. There are possibly many reasons why that wouldn't work out for you, but in the sense that the intention is that you would graduate in 2021-22 to become the youth representative, and whoever is chosen at that time would become the alternate, so that you are welcome to attend any of our meetings. Gravity will be the representatives, but in her absence, it'd be very good if you could be there to sit in and be that. So before we begin, do either one of you have anything you want to say? No? Okay, Gravity, you want to say something? Yeah.
Again, this is an awesome opportunity, and it's really, I'm surprised, even just having really been attending the meetings since September, because I wasn't really at very many meetings last year. Just in this short time span, I feel like I've learned so much, and now I'm like looking at the agenda and I'm like, okay, this makes sense. I understand this now. We saw this 3 meetings ago. Now I get it. So anyways, it's just really nice to feel like I'm finally starting to understand things.
Yeah, well, and that's great. That's exactly what we want to accomplish here. And we hope that it'll help you as you go forward in your other life as a student and other careers sort of thing to value this time you spent with our council. So Gravity was first appointed in 2019 as the alternate, and now as a grade 12 student, will fulfill a role now as the youth representative, as I mentioned, and Evie Clark is a grade 11 student who will tonight begin her first term as youth representative. This is a project that we have done jointly with the Gibsons Rotary Club. If you're familiar with the Interact program, which I know both of you are, they also sponsor that. And so it's an important milestone for them as well to have youth counselors linked to the Interact Club. And both of you attending Elphinstone Secondary School here in Gibsons, so which is not a requirement. I don't think either of you actually live in Gibsons, do you?
No.
No, that's right. Are you both Roberts Creek?
Yeah, I am.
We should have had Andreas Ties here tonight. You know, he could have he congratulated you. So that would have been good.
It's all good.
So we do actually have a format that we want to go through, and I'll ask the corporate officer to bring that up, share her screen, and bring up the oath that we use here. And this is just a formality. It's the oath. Council members all take an oath, and primarily it just creates a memory for you that you're here and we take this seriously. So the first one is for Gravity, and Gravity, I'm going to ask you to read it. No use me reading it and then you reading it. So can you see the screen there, Gravity?
Yes, I do. I only see, is that all, everything on the screen? Is that all I have to read, or is there something below it that's cut off?
It's cut off on my screen.
Oh, there. Okay. All right. Okay. I, Gravity Gignard, do solemnly affirm that I am a student and I am qualified to be appointed to the position of youth counselor for the town of Gibsons. As youth counselor, I commit to attending council meetings and committee meetings when I'm available and to participate in the discussion of matters under consideration. And in so doing, I will provide a youth perspective into decisions. I will endeavor to raise awareness of the many positive contributions of youth in our community and to inform them about council initiatives and activities. If, in performing my duties as youth counselor, I become aware of any matter that I have a direct or indirect interest in that constitutes a conflict under the community charter, I will disclose that interest to council and will not participate in the discussion or consideration of the matter. Should I read the bottom part there? Or
no, I'll do that. So it will be affirmed by the above named youth counselor, Gravity Gignard, before me, Bill Beamish, Mayor of Gibsons, at Gibsons, British Columbia, the 17th day of November, 2020. So our corporate officer will arrange for that to be provided to you and for your signature on that for our record and for your record as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and congratulations again, and thank you for participating in this. So next we have Evie Clark, and I believe the corporate officer has something for you to read also, Evie.
Great.
You just go ahead when you're ready.
Great. I, Evie Clark, do solemnly affirm that I am a student and I am qualified to be appointed to the position of the alternate youth counselor for the town of Gibsons. As alternate youth counselor, I commit to attending council meetings and committee meetings when I am called upon, and to participate in the discussion of matters under consideration, and in so doing, I will provide a youth perspective in decisions. I will endeavor to raise awareness of many positive contributions of youth in our community, and to inform them about council initiatives and activities. If, in performing my duties as alternate youth counselor, I become aware of any matter that I have direct or indirect interest in that constitutes a conflict under the community charter, I will disclose that interest to council, and I will not participate in the discussion or consideration of the matter.
Thank you. Once again, affirmed by me, by Evie Clark, alternate youth counselor on the town of Gibsons on the 17th of November, 2020. So thank you, Evie, and congratulations as well.
Thank you.
Thank you for participating in this program. So, councilors, any councilors like to say anything? Go around, take a minute. I'm going to start on my screen. I'll just follow through. Councillor Kroll, you're the top left for me.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. No, I'm just really thrilled that we have this project. Back in 2018, when I was out campaigning with Mayor Beamish one day, I mentioned to him that I asked a young friend of mine, I said, "Are you going to vote?" And he said, "Oh, I'm not going to bother. Municipal government is just for old people and nobody cares about the youth." And I was really hurt by his comment. So I'm just really thrilled that we have this program. I think it just, as Gravity mentioned earlier, she just suddenly is aware of the functioning of the municipal government. And a lot of people don't realize the opportunities that exist within the community for young people. You go through an education and you think, oh, well, I'm going to get a job, in the boardroom on Bay Street. And there's actually a lot of really valuable jobs within the community, within the municipality. So it just, I think, opens a lot of doors. And I really hope you do share your experience with your other students. So congratulations, and I look forward to working with you.
Councillor D'Andrade, I had you next.
Thank you, Mayor Beamish. Wow, I'm really thrilled to see your face, and Gravity, congratulations for this great achievement. And, it's interesting because politics, it's not someone's business, it's everybody's business, because we're all affected by decisions that are made. And to have youth participating, it's super important, because by the time that you graduate, you're already like halfway, whether you become a politician or not. Now you understand how things are done and the challenges, but also how to influence in society. And this is very positive. Plus, I think it's super incredible. And I have to thank Mayor Beamish and everybody else that work for this, to have a youth voice at our council. So thank you to everybody. Congratulations to you, Evie, and to you too, Gravity. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor D'Andrade. Councillor Lumley, you've unmuted yourself.
No, I was just going to say welcome aboard. And Gravity was saying that she started understanding things. Maybe she could brief council on, because I don't think I still understand everything. So I think she could maybe help us a little bit more. So anyway, but in all seriousness, awesome.
Thank you. And Councillor Ladwig.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate both of you. I just find it really inspiring that, at your age, you've chosen to get involved in your community. I think we're living in an era now where it's so easy for everyone to sit back and, watch their media feeds and complain about the state of the world, but so few people take the initiative to step up to the plate. And the fact that you've done so at your age is just really inspiring. So thank you. I think I'm going to make my girls watch this Zoom tonight.
Thank you. Councillor Kroll again.
Just one quick close. Sadly, Evie and Gravity haven't had that much time in the actual council chamber, but it's worth, once you do have access to the chamber, taking a look at the wall. And Gibsons has quite a history of women mayors. So something to think about.
Yeah. Yes, and this year, I mean, as we carry on with the program, we're learning more, and we're trying to do more and compensate for some of our oversights or overlooks. And I hope you both got an invitation this year to join us with our Christmas celebrations, such as they're going to be. And we want to include you in the family of this council, and so that please take advantage of that. And corporate officer, did Chris Wolf get to join us?
I don't see him in attendance, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and nothing flat. Well, he didn't indicate it to me but under another name, so I guess we'll just anyway. Chris is the current president of the Gibsons Rotary Club, and they are very much a part of this program as well. So thank you. With that being said, we've started. We'll now begin our agenda, and Hope you'll all stay and be part of the program. So I'll now call this meeting to order, and I have 7:15 on my watch. And would start with a procedural motion. And this is just to legitimize how we're doing business. And I'm going to read this full recommendation off and then be moved and seconded and adopted. So recommendation, whereas COVID-19 has been declared a global pandemic, and whereas a declaration of a state of emergency throughout the whole of British Columbia was declared on March 18, 2020, and whereas local governments and related bodies must be able to conduct their business in accordance with public health advisories to reduce the threat of COVID-19 to the health and safety of members and employees of local government and related bodies and members of the public. And whereas the Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General under the Emergency Program Act has issued Ministerial Order number M192 dated June 17, 2020 in regards to local government meetings and bylaw processes, COVID-19 Order number 3. And whereas Ministerial Order number 192 requires Council to carry a motion in order to hold open meetings electronically without members of the public present in person at the meeting. Therefore, be it resolved that Council does not allow members of the public to attend open meetings in person, as the meeting space does not have the capacity to safely accommodate the unknown number of public participants wishing to attend, and that Council hereby notifies the public that links to participate in, view live, or watch archived open meetings of Council will be posted on the town's website to ensure openness, transparency, accessibility, and accountability in respect of these meetings, and that as permitted under Ministerial Order number M192, open meetings of Council be held electronically and in the absence of persons public attendance until such time as the provincial declaration of state of emergency has been lifted. Council, would somebody first of all care to move that? Councillor Kroll, seconder, Councillor Ladwig. Discussion, does Council have any questions about the motion? Okay. Then seeing no questions, I'll call the question. All in favor? Okay, thank you. And just for the general public's observing this, Council has taken further steps, as you're maybe aware, that we are now require masks to be worn for staff-to-staff interactions and staff-to-public interactions in this building and in all of our municipal buildings at the present time, until such time as the medical health officer feels that it's okay to relax that rule. But it's one thing we need to do. My wife and I just canceled our weekend in Vancouver this coming weekend because we just followed the advice of the medical health officer to stay home. And other communities are going tighter to lockdown. I noticed that Tofino on the island has asked people to stay away at this time. So hopefully it won't be as bad as we had this spring, but we are in that second wave, and clearly people are suffering. We don't want to contribute to that. Gravity?
I was just wondering, I don't know if I missed the meeting, but did we, was there a similar recommendation that happened like in March, or is this because we've been online for a long time now. So I was just wondering what happened.
If the corporate officer will permit me, there was one earlier.
Okay.
What we were doing though is we were providing space for up to 5 people to attend meetings in the town office here. People didn't come, but we could never know how many people were coming, and it did require a staff person to interact with them. So at this stage in time, because of the state of the pandemic right now, we've just decided that we wouldn't allow that to continue until such time as the emergency order is lifted. Did I get that correct, corporate officer?
Yes, exactly.
There you go. Yes. So we have up until now allowed public to be here. It has not been a big winner. People seem to be comfortable on Zoom.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I was just curious.
Thank you. Okay, item 4 on the agenda, approval of the agenda for the regular council meeting November 17, 2020. A motion, please. Councillor Ladwig, Councillor Kroll, all in favor of approving the agenda? Thank you. Adoption of minutes, adoption of the regular minutes of council for November 3rd, 2020. Councillor Ladwig, Councillor Kroll again, all in favor? Adoption, thank you. And adoption of the regular minutes of, the first one, I think I just did November 3rd, skipping down my eyes. We'll go back and do the adoption of the regular minutes of November 17th of council. So Councillor Kroll, Councillor D'Andrade. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You said November 17, which is today.
Did I say that twice the first time, or? Yeah. I thought the first time I said November 3rd. That's all. And now, oh no, right? Okay, and I apologize. That's confusing. We're so far into the meeting that it's only the November 3rd minutes, and that's the regular agendas. Just so much stuff on top of it. It looks like it's. I apologize. Councillor Kroll moved it too. Okay. All right. Business arising with the minutes. Let's just move on. Thank you very much, Councillor D'Andrade. Yeah, it's been a long day, as you know. Yeah. Any business arising? Hearing none, we'll go to proclamations. And we have 2 proclamations tonight. And I'm thinking neither one of which I have in my hands. So are you going to bring them on the screen for me, Corporate Officer? Okay, the first proclamation I have up on the screen is Buy Local Week. So for that one, Colin Stansfield, are you in the room?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, just give me a moment with the share screen on. It takes me a little bit longer to navigate.
That's okay.
And Mr. Mayor, Colin has joined us now.
Okay, thank you. Colin, would you like to speak to the proclamation for Buy Local Week 2020?
Yeah, gladly. Thank you, Mayor and Council. On behalf of the Sunshine Coast Business Recovery Center, our Business and Economic Recovery Task Force, Scredo, Community Futures, and frankly, the thousands of local businesses and entrepreneurs who work hard every day to build a vibrant, prosperous, and resilient coastal economy. Please let me express our deep gratitude for the ongoing support that we receive from this council. In delivering this proclamation, you're not only affirming the fundamental connection between economic health and community well-being, you're issuing a call to action. You're highlighting the critical need for every one of us to support local business, to strengthen our local economy so that it can continue to support our community. Local businesses sponsor our sports teams, they donate to our favorite causes, they hire our neighbors, they remember our name and our favorite drink. They step up time and time again when we call on them. And now it's time for us to step up for them. And so as we step into this season of gift giving, I hope that every one of us will think carefully about where, how, and the reasons behind why we spend our money. Loco BC, the organization that has led BC Buy Local Week for the past 8 years, has conducted research that shows during the holidays, the average Canadian spends about $1,600 on travel, food, drinks, and gifts. Through BC Buy Local Week, we are encouraging consumers to shift as much of that spending as is possible away from multinationals to independent business or a local grown or local made product to keep that money circulating in our community and keep good jobs in BC. To put it in context, by shifting just 10% of your spending to local businesses and products, you can contribute to creating 3,100 jobs and $94 million of wages in the BC economy. Amazon, Best Buy, and Costco don't need our money, but now more than ever, our local businesses do. November 30th through December 6th, please show your coastal pride by shopping safely and responsibly in stores, by shopping online, by buying local made, by drinking local, by eating local, and by purchasing local gift cards for family and friends. If we can all take just a few of these very simple steps, together we will make a great and meaningful difference in the health and vitality of our coastal economy. And that, I would suggest, is a good thing. And so thank you for your time and keep up the great work. We appreciate you issuing this proclamation.
Thank you, Colin. I'll read the proclamation. In recognition of BC Buy Local Week 2020, whereas Local BC and the Sunshine Coast Business Recovery Centre present BC Buy Local Week to celebrate and bring awareness to the economic, social, and environmental impact of supporting local businesses in Gibsons. And whereas purchasing goods and services from locally owned businesses strengthens the local economy, fosters community, and contributes to a greener province. And whereas buying from local businesses keeps money and jobs in British Columbia and can improve sustainability by reducing the transportation of goods that can affect climate change. And whereas local businesses support local communities by giving back to local charities, school events, and sport teams. And whereas this week we honor the efforts of small business owners in Gibsons and the citizens who purchase from them. Now therefore I, William Beamish, Mayor of Gibsons, do hereby proclaim the week of November 30, 2020 to December 6, 2020 as BC Buy Local Week. Proclamation 2020-10, November 17, 2020. Well, thank you, Colin. And it should not be Buy Local Week, obviously. It should be Buy Local. And, in having heard you and having read this proclamation, I will also make it my commitment to not purchase anything between now and January 1st outside of this community or outside of the communities of the Sunshine Coast. So that other than the fact that I might have a weekend in Vancouver with my wife, which will require me to travel over there and obviously eat, my Christmas shopping and gift giving will take place from local purchases this year. So I challenge other members of council to do the same. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go on to the next resolution, proclamation. This is Restorative Justice Week. Okay, and do we
Mayor, sorry, Mr. Mayor, Donna Schmerler's just joined us.
Okay, thank you. Is Nancy Denham here or just Donna?
I do see Nancy as well. I'll move her over.
Okay, good. And invite them both to the table and
All right, they should now both be able to turn on their audio and video.
okay. I see Nancy. Yep. Nancy, I see you there. I don't see Donna, but I got you. Yeah. Yeah. So who would like to tell us about Restorative Justice Week?
I'd like to start, and then I'm going to bring Nancy on in a minute.
Thank you, Donna.
Sounds a bit like a chipmunk. I don't know what's happening with her sound, but anyway.
Nancy, have you turned your audio off? There you go. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, well, first of all, I just want to add my, I'm sold, Colin. I also was thinking about not using Amazon at all, but now I'm totally sold to buy locally for Christmas. So count me in. So my name is Donna Schmerler. and I am a volunteer facilitator with the Restorative Justice Program here on the Sunshine Coast, and I'm also currently the board president. The symbol that was chosen for Restorative Justice Week 2020 was a dandelion, and a puffball dandelion. So I want you to imagine all the little seeds kind of spreading out and sprinkling out, and it's symbolizing restorative justice in scattering the seeds of its philosophy, its processes, its values, and especially its ever-deepening connection to movements and advocacy about anti-racism, decolonization, Indigenous truth and reconciliation, healing harms, repairing relationships, and increasing community safety, to name just a few. I really want to thank you for making this proclamation highlighting International Restorative Justice Week. And I also want to thank Mayor and Council for your ongoing support of the Restorative Justice Program on the Sunshine Coast. And I want to have a shout out to Tracy from your office, who was instrumental in getting us to this meeting. I'd like to introduce Nancy Denham, who is a longtime restorative justice practitioner and trainer on the Sunshine Coast. She's also a board member and a past president. And she's going to talk a little bit about how our organization has been doing during the pandemic. Here.
Nancy, you got yeah.
You sound like a chipmunk, Nancy.
Not working, Nancy.
No.
Okay.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay, well. Oh.
Am I better now?
Yes.
Yeah, better now, yes.
Okay. Thank you for having us. And I'm so excited to see the youth here, the youth counselors. It's wonderful. I wish every town and municipality and organization on the governance body had youth representatives.
They could.
They are our future. They are our future. So, well, welcome, girls. It's really good to see you there. I've been involved in RJ since it began, as you know, Mayor Beamish, and we've had some challenges with COVID. You know, our work is always in person, and to have to go virtual has been a challenge. We have been challenged to learn. I've been doing trainings on virtually as well. And it's been interesting. The relationships are more complicated to really see and hear and know that you're understood or know that your understanding is challenged a little bit because we're just two-dimensional here. But we've been working at it, and we've been taking on files and cases and working with that. We've ended up because it's difficult to meet in person and having to do files and have circles in virtually. For some of the youth, we've actually got a youth worker working with us now who's doing some outreach to some youth who are associated with files, which is wonderful. We've never done that before, but that to build the relationship has been very important. And then we've been focusing on the training of our volunteers. So we have people trained in doing the complicated dialogue circles that we try to take on. We don't shy away. We don't shy away from issues that might be rising from the community. We get calls from the community, from local service agencies we've worked with even in government in the last year. So it's been a really, really wonderful development of our service, that we are providing opportunities for people to sit in circle in a facilitated way and tackle some of the difficult conversations that need to happen. And we've worked very closely with April Struthers with the Organizing Against Racism and Hatred protocols. And I know that you have signed that. Your council signed that, and I think that's amazing. I'm also want to make a comment that we recognize that you have also signed the Declaration of UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and taken that on, and I'm really impressed by that. From all the work we do and hear from people in our community. And so I want to mention that. We have a new website that's coming out in December. So we can't launch it. We were hoping to launch it this week, but we're just going to say it's coming in December. So expect to hear about that, and making it easier for people to communicate with us through the website. We can also educate through the website too. That's our hope. And this week, usually we meet in the malls. We put up tables in the malls. Sunnycrest Mall, we're there usually for a full day every National RJ week, and we're not there to meet people. So this is even more important that we've come to you, and that your Gibsons people will probably, hopefully, look at your council meetings and see us. So thank you.
Thank you both, Donna and Nancy, for all that you do.
Just wanted to let you know we're going to be launching a membership drive in lieu of our mall activities.
Yeah.
And we'd like to invite all interested council members to become members of the Restorative Justice Association.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much. But I thank you for the important work that you do in our community year in and year out. I mean, and Nancy, you're right. You have been going for quite some time now, so that it's been good. We really appreciate that. We are, I believe now, if somebody can correct me, but I believe that we did actually also establish you as a one of our regular programs for the budget purpose. Yeah. Gravity, do you wish to say something?
I did. I just wanted to say it would be interesting. I don't know if you've looked into it, but maybe to do some sort of presentation at Elphinstone, just to get some students involved, or just to have an educational opportunity. It obviously right now it would have to be online or like a virtual thing, but I just thought if you hadn't thought about that before, that would be, I think there are a lot of students who would really enjoy that. So
we love that. And can we connect with you?
Yeah, sure. I will. I can message you.
Okay, let's stay in touch then. Okay.
Okay, I will read the proclamation now that from the Office of the Mayor, William Beamish, in recognition of Restorative Justice Week 2020. Whereas in the face of crime or conflict, restorative justice offers a philosophy and approach that views these matters principally as harm done to people and relationships. And whereas restorative justice is a non-adversarial, non-retributive approach to justice that emphasizes healing in victims, accountability of offenders, and involvement of citizens in creating healthier, safer communities. And whereas this year's theme for Restorative Justice Week is Inspiring Innovation, it is an opportunity to learn about restorative justice, educate, and celebrate along with other communities across the country during this week. Now, therefore, I, William Beamish, Mayor of Gibsons, do hereby proclaim the week of November 15 to November 22, 2020 as Restorative Justice Week. Proclamation 2020-09, November 17, 2020. Thank you again very much, and believe we'll ensure that you get a copy of this, signed copy. So thanks for everything. Councillors, anything you'd like to add? Yeah. Oh, okay, now we're moving on with our meeting. So thank you very much, both of you. Thank you. Nice to see you. Okay, done proclamations. Our next section of the agenda tonight is inquiries, and the inquiries are for any item of business that is on tonight's agenda. If you have any inquiries about tonight's agenda before it's considered, please make yourself known to the corporate officer. We allow 10 minutes in total for inquiries on our agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'll ask anybody who has an inquiry of council to please use the raise the hand feature found at the bottom of the screen. And we do have a couple so far, Mr. Mayor, so I'll just move them over one at a time.
Thank you. Okay, Val LeBrecq.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you.
So is it at this time that I would speak on the Hillcrest development, I guess?
Yeah, this would be your only opportunity to speak on it. No, you have an opportunity later to speak on it.
Okay, so I should save it till then?
I would save it till then. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Will come up in the issue. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Sean Eckford. We're not hearing you, Sean.
Are you hearing me now?
We got you now. Yes.
I was just curious, seeing as we have the youth counselors, looking for perhaps an update on the coast-wide youth council initiative that the youth counselors started last term. Has that gone anywhere?
Yes, so I'm still working on that with Ailish, and it due to some with the Squamish land or the Squamish band and the Seashell band, we wanted to make sure, I think it was the Seashell band, they were under a state of emergency, and we wanted to get in contact with them about that. And then we have reached out. A lot of people didn't get to it. I think with COVID, it just there wasn't a top priority, but we've reached out to them recently, and we are still working on that and we're going to be hopefully getting an update on that very soon. So I will let you, do you have any questions or?
Nothing particular, just wanted to make sure it was still a live initiative and going forward.
We were originally hoping to get it started in the fall, but now we've decided that January is our new goal to get it started by then. So yes, we're still working on it. Don't worry.
Great, thank you.
And there's the upcoming intergovernmental meeting, and I'm sure an update at that time would be useful too. It'll be coming shortly. So thank you. Good. Thank you, Sean. Okay, are there any other inquiries, Corporate Officer?
There are not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move forward to the committee reports, committees, and the first of all, could I have a motion to receive all of the reports and correspondence on tonight's agenda? Councillor Kroll, thank you. Councillor D'Andrade, thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. All approved. So the first is the Planning and Development Committee meeting November 3rd. There was a recommendation that went directly to council from that, for the multi-use gateway funded project. So the first one is the receipt of the minutes of the Planning and Development Committee for November the 3rd. So we move receipt. Councillor Kroll, seconded Councillor Ladwig. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Was that a seconder or not, or a shire? Were you there? Okay, thank you. All in favor of receipt of the minutes of the Planning and Development Committee meeting of November 3rd. All in favor. Thank you. Moved and seconded. Thank you. 9.
But I do have a comment about it, if I could. I wasn't sure when to make it. Sorry.
About the minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, you can make a comment about the minutes, yes.
I noticed, and I apologize for not noticing before, but we don't record the decisions, or we didn't in these minutes. And I'm embarrassed that I haven't noticed that before. I don't know, Corporate Officer.
I'm sorry, the decisions or
how we voted on it as a group.
At the committee meeting, so either PDC or a committee of the whole, it's a bit less informal of minutes, so we don't record the mover and seconder.
Yeah, I just noticed that. I guess it wasn't until the STR bylaw came up that where something was kind of being debated among council, or among the committee members, that I noticed that. That's all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Short-term rental bylaw scheduling of second public hearing. So there's a recommendation here the staff bring forward a report that amends the zoning amendment bylaw for a purpose allowing for unhosted short-term rentals with the following criteria. Only one hosted short-term rental per owner. Unhosted short-term rental operators must be present in Gibsons. Unhosted short-term rental can only be rented for a period of 60 days. and are allowed in commercial zones in the lower village. Now, before we move that, I wasn't at this meeting, so could I seek some clarification of some of these points? Can I ask you that point number 2, the unhosted short-term rental must be resident in Gibsons. Must they be present in the community during the rental? Councillor Lumley?
Yeah, we've actually heard from an owner of a short-term rental who lived, I think, in Hopkins Landing, and I was going to actually ask to have this number 2 changed to like a distance that council would feel comfortable with. I think in other communities, the people that, if they're unhosted, they actually have to be within a certain distance to, respond to any emergencies or problems with the STR. So I was just going to ask maybe for, instead of saying a resident of Gibsons, maybe have some sort of, proximity to their STR that would allow them to do that. And maybe we could come up with, whatever it is, 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers, whatever it might be. So that was just a thinking on number 2 that was different than we had discussed in the meeting.
Yeah. Councillors, any thoughts on that, or Councillor Kroll?
With respect to Councillor Lumley's comments, it was of my impression at the meeting that we had sort of suggested that they be able to respond in a timely manner were there an issue. So, within a certain radius or proximity, I think it's going to be a bit difficult. As Councillor Lumley suggested, that people live in area E and F and they have a unit in Gibsons. So I'm certainly in support of his. And I thought that from the notes I made from the meeting that we had on this, that it was actually a timely manner and not within Gibsons.
Okay. I wasn't present at that meeting, so somebody have to suggest an amendment to this. Well, it hasn't been moved yet, so that so that's one question I had. So that now, must they be present when the short-term rental is active? Because yeah, sorry, Councillor Ladwig, sorry.
This STR policy, this is painful, this one. So first of all, just to back up a minute, I think I misunderstood when we made this recommendation. I envisioned a report. I envisioned more opportunity for more discussion as opposed to a report to just say that these 4 bullets were going to be moving forward into the bylaw. And so, and I know this is getting painful. I know we've been through this many times. I too am getting tired of it. I don't know what to say other than to say that we did have a lot of debate about all these points, and different points were brought up by different councillors. And we put these 4 bullets down because they were, each councillor kind of had their own point. And so we kind of put them down. But I think we're going, if we make the decision to want to move forward with these 4 bullets, we're going to have to do them individually because some of us support some of us.
I agree. Yeah. Councillor Lumley?
Yeah, just to clarify for Councillor Ladwig, it's what we've asked is that the planning bring forward a report on potentially these 4 things. We're not adding them to the bylaw. They're just going to report for us saying how this would affect the bylaw and,
the implications of those.
Yeah, this is only going to lead to further discussion. That was my understanding. And when the report comes forward about adding these to or potentially adding these to the bylaw and how to affect it, at that point, I guess we could discuss it, right? So that was my understanding.
Councillor Deandrat?
Thank you, Mayor. I agree. And that was my understanding too. And for example, the number 3, which I proposed unhosted for a period of time, I mentioned the 60 days because I saw other municipalities that they have some, but this is actually for staff to do, to do their research or to digest, because I'm not necessarily suggesting that the 60 days are the perfect number. That was just an overall suggestion that it would, if someone, and that's another thing, because if 60 days is enough for them to keep the house empty the whole year and just make their money in 60 days, that wouldn't solve the situation too. So that's just a report that I would interest in to increase the discussion.
Yeah. Councillor Kroll?
And just for clarification, is this report going to come back to council or committee? Because the meeting itself, it was, as Councillor Ladwig suggested, it was, it was a lengthy meeting. It, there was a lot of stuff discussed, and it seemed very difficult at the time to sort of get specifics nailed down. So I think in a less formal environment, if the report came back to committee, it would be better.
Okay, I'm going to go. I've got Director of Planning first, please.
Mayor, so this recommendation came from the Planning and Development Committee. So it's up to council to adopt it or change it at this point. It does direct staff to amend the zoning bylaw. So once council passes this resolution, I would act on it. So if it's, right now it says, bring forward a report that amends the zoning bylaw with these 4 bullets. I would amend the zoning bylaw and bring that forward for consideration of scheduling the next public hearing. So if there's any changes to it at this point, this is a good time to bring that up because it does provide the direction.
Councillor Ladwig.
God, this is a painful one, isn't it? There's so many nuances to this bylaw, and it is a challenging situation. I just wanted to raise for council that it turns out that I believe Squamish is voting on their STR bylaw today, as a matter of fact. And it's just another interesting model that they're working on. They're only permitting short-term rentals in primary, what do they call them? Principal residences. And they're allowing those principal residences to rent out their principal residence for, I believe, up to 60 days with them not being there. So in other words, I could go away for a week vacation and I could rent out my home while I went away, but they are very intentionally only allowing short-term rentals in principal residences because they see this as a direct link to their long-term rental shortage. So they are very clearly linking that to that challenge. So just wanted to share that with you.
Councillor Lumley.
I mean, obviously the bylaws are going to have different ways of approaching it based on their community, and obviously probably even more so than Gibsons, although Gibsons is growing. Squamish is growing exponentially if you've been there, which I have in the last couple of weeks. And I could see that being a problem 100 times worse than we have. Which brings me to another point, and I don't know if we've discussed this enough, but when this town approved the OCP and reviewed it and approved it for all these garden suites and so on and so forth, it wasn't for people to all of a sudden have burgeoning STR businesses. It was the garden suite. The aspect of the OCP was to increase density. It was to allow our population to share the same infrastructure through these additions. And what we've seen, obviously, come into the fact is that these have become business opportunities for people. And I just don't know if the spirit of the OCP is being we should also take that in when we discuss this and we think about this. That has to be front and center of the decisions that we make. So that's the comment, based on that. So,
Councillor Ladwig.
Just to Councillor Lumley's point, actually, Squamish's STR is proposing no STRs in coach houses and and secondary suites like that. And so it is a good point. You know, I think here in Gibsons, because of our limited hotel accommodations or tourism accommodations, I feel a little differently about it. But the more I think about it, if we took the approach where we let people rent out their principal residence for a short period of time without them being there, like up to 60 days, then at least it would give that opportunity to have some short-term rentals for people that don't want to be in the same building as the owner, which is a comment we've heard a lot from stakeholders. They don't want to, they think it'll limit our attractiveness to tourists who don't want to share the same building space, the same four walls. So if they could go away for a weekend and rent out their SDR, or sorry, rent out their principal residence, that might solve both those problems while still retaining coach houses for long-term rentals. So just a suggestion.
It sounds to me like we're still debating this issue a lot. I mean, I frankly can't support any of these myself personally, so that I still am not one to believe that we should gut our community by keeping houses empty for weekend visitors. And it's nice to be able to say that we're allowing people to come into our market and to buy a house and to pay for it by having people come and rent it on the weekends for 60 days a year. It does nothing for us. It does not create community. It does not create neighborhoods. It further isolates seniors who already live in those neighborhoods and feel isolated because they don't have neighbors. That I'm used to, you know, wanting to talk to my neighbors. When you don't have neighbors around you that you can talk to. The idea of letting somebody rent your house for a period of time, your principal residence, that's probably okay. It's not running as a business. You're renting your principal residence. You've got to cover that insurance. A lot of people don't want to do that. I've done house exchanges. I know what that's like. I know what the insurance implications of that are, so that those happen. But if this came to a vote, I would vote no on all this. Now, do you want this to go back to committee? Is there more discussion that we're having on this? Is that what I'm hearing? If you want this to come back as a report from staff to committee that addresses these issues and the options around them and the implications for them relative to before you see it as a bylaw. What I'm understanding, Councillor Crowell?
I would move that the report come back to committee.
As a report, not a bylaw?
As a report.
Okay. Seconded by Councillor Lumley. Or were you seconded, Councillor Lumley, or are we speaking to it?
I would second it with discussion. I mean, I would agree that I don't want it to see come back as a report amending the bylaw or installing these things into a bylaw, because I think that would be a waste of the director of planning's time. I mean, and you know, with all due respect of the report we received from I don't know how long ago, it was quite a while ago, but I don't want a report like that either, because I wasn't extremely happy with that one. I think, like, from what I understand from the committee of the whole, or the planning meeting, was that these were things that, like, we wanted to get some more feedback on. So like each point would have some sort of, it would be, because we don't have any information, like we don't, like if only one unhosted STR per owner, like do we have any idea of like how many like owners have one STR in our community? How many have two? How many have three? How many have four? I mean, it's really hard to make decisions or process things when you kind of like, you're just making things up without even having like any statistical data in front of you to say, well, this, like, that might not even be a problem here. You know, it's like, I mean, you could make up a bylaw and you hear it from like, you know, during the you know, you have the public hearing and you hear both sides of it, but we're just kind of shooting from the hip based on, it's like Anne Marie said, she said, well, 60 days, is that going to solve some of the problems? Well, we don't know, but we want to hear back from, like, maybe that solves some problems in another community, or maybe this wouldn't solve the problems. This wasn't supposed to change the bylaw. I think it was just supposed to give us more information to make decisions about the bylaw. That was my understanding of it. So, I mean, like if, all due respect, Mr. Mayor, if you say, well, I wouldn't vote in favor of any of these, it's not like we're asking us to vote in favor of any of them. It's just, we just need more information to be able to construct a bylaw. Like, these might be okay, and you might be okay with 2 of these out of 4. We just have to get to that point. And, you know, like Councillor Ladwig already said, it's just like, holy cow, it's like, this thing's like a bouncing ball that just won't stop. You know, it's like at some point we're going to have to make some decisions. So I think these were the most pressing things that we thought during that meeting to get more information on, to be able to make a decision. That's my understanding anyway.
And that's basically what I understand Councillor Kroll's resolution is, and you've seconded that. Councillor or Corporate Officer, you understand what the resolution is?
No, Mr. Mayor, and I just wanted to interject on process at this point. Council has given first and second reading to the bylaw that was previously before them and went to public hearing. At this point, for amendments, staff is looking for direction from council, and that's what the meeting at the PDC was looking for. Staff was seeking direction to amend the bylaw that has 2 readings. So if council could give direction at this point, what they're wanting to see, I'm hearing just a report.
I'm hearing a report come back to the Planning and Development Committee meeting that focuses on these 4 points relative to short-term rentals and the options around them, the implications of those 4 points, without at this time amending the bylaw going forward. Councillor Ladwig?
God, I hate to do this. I'm wondering if we can just add that one more bullet to the list, and that would be this concept of allowing people to have an STR in their principal residence, but then rent it out for a set period of time if they go away. That concept. I just look at the Squamish STR as an example.
Yeah.
I'm hoping maybe council would allow that to be added to the list, and then that's good for me.
You're proposing Director of Planning. Are you anywhere near understanding or comfortable with we could just refer this whole thing back to planning and planning and development and not do anything with this resolution.
Yeah, I think like Lindsay said, we have a bylaw on the table. It's had first and second readings. So the approach would be to amend it to a point where council is comfortable with it. And it's sounding like council might want to revisit the goals of the short-term rental policy. I'm looking back to one of the staff reports, and the main goals we took were based on the feedback from the consultation process. And that was to support the local economy, to allow supplemental income and a mortgage helper, the need for clear regulations, maintaining neighborhood character, and having hosted short-term rentals. So that's what was heard from the first set of community dialogues. And that's what the bylaw was based on. So if the entire guiding principles around the development of the bylaw has changed, then that's what we need to know to change direction on what's been drafted.
I would recommend, although it's been first and seconded, we could defeat it, but I just recommend you refer this back in total to the Planning and Development Committee for more conversation. There seems to be more. We need more clarity on this. I don't think that short-term rentals per se are a problem in this community. We have lots of them. We have a minority of short-term rentals that are unhosted. That seems to be where we're having a problem, is in that kind of minority of unhosted short-term rentals. The other ones will meet whatever we require. And the unfortunate part about it is we're leaving everything in limbo. And for the sake of a few, and that's a challenge I see. So, but if we have a motion on the table, we could defeat that motion and simply refer this issue back to Planning and Development Committee for more discussion and direction. Corporate Officer?
Just seeking clarification whether Councillor Ladwig had proposed an amendment and whether that was being moved.
Well, she did, but if we're going to push the whole thing back to the committee, I mean, that can come forward. I mean, up to you guys. Councillor Lumley.
Yeah, I don't want to refer this back. I'd still like to get the report from planning. I mean, we're at a stage, I understand that the bylaws had first and second reading. We have to have another public hearing anyway. So, I mean, it's just not going to get third reading, but I still think we need this report. And if Councillor Ladwig wants to amend it and add a fifth bullet point, I'm all for it as well. I would just like to get a report back to planning development, and that bylaw that's got first and second reading can die. And yeah, we should, I mean, process is one thing, but I mean, getting it right is the number one thing. It's not whatever it takes during process, like that's fine with me. Like we can go back and do whatever. I think we still need more information to make a decision. And that's why council at the time asked for a report of the effects of this in our community. And the fifth point, I would say, yes, add it and then amend it, and let's get it back to planning development, not refer it back, but come back to planning development when it has this report. And I would also suggest when we go to planning development, this cannot be one of 8 things on the agenda. This probably has to be one thing on the agenda, and it has to be timed out for that, because this is a lot of discussion and I just don't want to hurry through it. I don't want to be extending meetings and then going, oh my God, like, you know, I have to have dinner. We have another meeting coming up. This should be a priority. That's I feel pretty strongly about that.
Okay, Councillor D'Andrade, then Councillor Ladwig.
Yeah, the way I see it, for example, the suggestion that Councillor Ladwig was referring to Squamish, this is embedded on the third point. So unhosted can only be rented for 60 years. That's what we want. We want staff to investigate, learn from other municipalities, understand the rationale, why Squamish did it. Perhaps it is a solution what Squamish did, but my view, we don't even need to amend because this should be embedded on this point, but it's up to council whether they want to amend.
Director of Planning.
Thank you, Mayor. So the principal resident concept is embedded in the existing bylaw as written. What the city of Vancouver has done in Squamish and some other municipalities have only allowed principal residents, which is a different approach and not necessarily the supporting the local economy approach, because it limits it. It has to be a long-term rental, and then if you leave for a holiday, you could short-term rental your unit, but you couldn't necessarily short-term rental your unit for a long time. So that's different to an unhosted short-term rental where an entire unit could be used as a short-term rental for a long time. It's also different to a hosted short-term rental because that's saying one unit on the property could be used as a short-term rental in perpetuity. So we kind of embedded that in the hosted short-term rental process, but not as a blanket approach. But yeah, so I can prepare a report and bring it back to PDC, and I'll bring up the guiding principles and we can talk about that again. And I can attach some previous reports so that it's all in one package.
Okay, Councillor Ladwig.
Just last comment. I like where this conversation is going, as painful as it is for staff, I know. I just want to say it was interesting for me to hear the Director of Planning speak to the drivers behind this bylaw, because as Councillor Lumley said earlier on, the report that we originally got going way back, you know, a few of us weren't particularly happy with. And I think maybe we just got off on the wrong foot a little bit on this one, in that we didn't ask ourselves, what do we want out of this bylaw for the community first? we just took the perspective of just the stakeholder as opposed to perhaps some broader community needs like long-term, like ensuring, long-term rental space. So, I mean, Director of Planning, you just made a comment that if we want to change the, I forget what word you used, but the intent, I think, of the bylaw, that kind of throws a wrench into things. I think a few intents were kind of missed right from the beginning, perhaps, or not emphasized enough when we started. And maybe that's why we are where we are today. You know what I mean? Like the value of, or the role that short-term rentals play in reducing, the role that short-term rentals play in reducing long-term rentals, I don't think was emphasized enough in our original intent of this bylaw, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor, and that is to return this, sorry.
I'm sorry, you have not asked for the amendment to be included at this time. So if you'd like to.
Did you wish your amendment to be included, Councillor Ladwig? Or, yeah. Restate it so that we know what it is.
That we add bullet 5 to the list, asking staff to explore the implications of allowing principal residences to be rented out as short-term rentals for a maximum of a certain number of days, say 60 days. Okay. So principal residents rented out as STRs for a short period of time.
Do we have a seconder? The amendment? Councillor Lumley. Okay. Voting on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment? All in favor of the motion as amended? Okay, thank you. So that's returning back to Plan and Development Committee for a report with these 5 bullets to be addressed. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, now we'll go to an easy one. We have the Director of Planning, and this is for the Development Variance Permit 2020-05 and Development Permit 2020-10 for 741 Hillcrest Road. And so it's already been received. So we'll go to the, I guess the, Katie Thomas, are you speaking to this then?
I am, yes. I'm going to share my screen because I have a quick PowerPoint. Okay, so the property at 741 Hillcrest Road is zoned RM2, which allows for townhouses or apartments. The zone allows for the density of 22 townhouses on the lot. In order to develop on this site, the property has to undergo a development permit for form and character before a building permit can be applied for. Looking back at the application, the development permit for form and character for a 20-unit townhouse development was initially presented to the Planning and Development Committee on September the 8th, 2020. The proposal showed 3 buildings with an access lane that went down the east property line down here. This design provided for a large setback to the east property line as seen in this rendering. While the form and character conformed to the design guidelines, the developer was requested to revise the design to break up the massing. The application was brought back to the PDC on October the 6th, 2020, with 2 options for consideration. This was the new design. The PDC chose the option that broke up the massing by placing the driveway through the center of the site. This option requires a variance to reduce the side setback from 4.5 meters to 3 meters to accommodate the driveway aisle down the center of the development and to provide for a safe pedestrian walkway. The architect has made each unit as narrow as possible, but is limited from reducing the width of the units any further due to the widths of the garage doors, which are required to conform to the parking regulations of the zoning bylaw. So the variance request is to reduce the side setback from 4.5 meters to 3 meters, and council directed staff to notify neighbours of the requested variance on October the 20th, 2020. So notifications were mailed to neighbours on November the 4th. and a total of 20 submissions have been received. 2 are attached to the staff report, and the 17 were attached to a memo that was added to the agenda this afternoon. And 1 additional submission was submitted after the agenda was updated at 4:30 this afternoon. The majority of the submissions opposed the request, citing privacy and shadow concerns. 14 of these submissions were signed form letters, and that includes the most recent submission. Sorry, go back. 2 individuals submitted 2 submissions, and 1 submission requests that the pedestrian right-of-way be moved from the east property line and placed down the center of the driveway aisle, similar to the pedestrian right-of-way that goes through 728 Gibsons Way. So their recommendations are listed on page 1 of the staff report, and it's I must ask the mayor to provide the opportunity for anybody that feels affected to be heard. So I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you. First of all, does council have any questions before we? Okay, seeing none. I will then ask, invite anybody who wishes to be heard on this matter to make yourself known to the corporate officer on the screen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I ask anybody in the meeting as an attendee to please use the raise the hand feature found at the bottom of the screen, and I'll turn on your audio and video. And Mr. Mayor, we do have one.
Thank you. Val Lebrecq.
Oh, hello, I'm back.
There you go. Thank you. This is your time.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Mayor, and thanks, councillors. My name is Val Lebrecq, and I live in the Island View Townhouse at 728 Gibsons Way. That's the townhouse complex that is right next door to the proposed development at 741 Hillcrest Road. I think most of you have already seen the package that I sent, but tonight I'm speaking on behalf of not only myself, but also my neighbors. My neighbors and I are not crusaders. We are not anti-development. We understand the importance of adding density to our town and recognize that every new home built is a small step to addressing our housing shortage. We're not asking for there to be fewer units in this development, and we're not saying that we don't want it built. All we're requesting is that this variance not be approved. It was needlessly requested when the original developer's plan with the 3 buildings did not need setback variance. I went into greater detail in my personal submission, but the short version of our group objection to the variance is that a small setback will impact the collective enjoyment of our properties. 1.5 meters sounds like a small number, but in actuality, the variance will shrink the suggested setback by 1/3. That's a huge percentage, going from 4.5 meters setback to 3 meters. The geometry of the new homes also needs to be taken into consideration. The 3-story height of these properties means even a small setback will increase the shadows cast into neighboring properties. It also means that privacy will be impacted, not only for existing residents, but for new occupants of these future townhomes. This variance request should never have been brought up or considered. Our understanding is that the developer's original plan conformed to town setback guidelines for the lot. However, when it came to building scale and massing, there was concern that one of the buildings had 8 units instead of the preferred 6 units. So the town staff asked the developers for a new plan to reduce the massing. The developer then returned with a new plan that broke the 3 structures into 6 structures. But this new design required a variance that would allow for a setback from the neighboring properties, requesting a setback for a total of 3 meters. So 1.5 meters on the west side and 1.5 meters on the east side, affecting and crowding neighbors on both sides of the lot is much more of an imposition. Just approve the 1 building for the 8 units instead of 6, and the other 2 buildings are already conforming at 6 units. Done. No variance needed. I understand you received many opposition, 20 some letters. And yes, I was 2 of them because I did more research and then I sent them more of a defined package. And so that's the good majority of the neighbors that are opposing this. There wasn't one person for it. And I fully believe that the future new occupants of the yet to be townhouse homes would also oppose the variance. they, like us, would choose the 3-building option where there's more separation between neighbors. If the rule allows for 6 units in one structure, it's short-sighted to suggest a design change that conflicts with another rule than that request a variance. If a variance is requested for this project, the only consideration must be a variance that allows for 8 units instead of 6 and leave the 4.5 meter setback as is. The 6-building setback actually looks much more like massing than the 3 buildings, and the 3 buildings fit better in the community by having the drive aisle to the east, allowing a corridor of space, light and breathing room between yards and lots. The 3-building structure is much more palatable for all and doesn't even request a variance setback, which has majority opposition. The variance request is a solution to a bigger problem that didn't need to exist or requested in the first place. So just to sum up here, Gibsons is fortunate to have new bylaws that protect our trees and the noise bylaw that provide us with additional peace and quiet. But it seems counterproductive to introduce these quality of life improvements only to then sacrifice the privacy and sunshine of residents by disregarding other quality of life bylaws and allowing for developers to push their lot building boundaries and encroach on the existing neighbor's current space. We'll be closer, our day-to-day noises will encroach on each other more, our buildings will cast shadows over our yards, our trees, and us wanting to enjoy sunlight in our yards. There is no justifiable reason for council to approve this variance. Way more damage in quality of life will be created to the existing neighbors and the future development owners. We are their voices as well. No one benefits from a needless variance change. It was an unthought through suggestion that would not have been proposed should more thought and consideration been done on it in the first place. And then what I want to just show is, yeah, so here we have, well, old school here, but there's the empty lot, right? And so this neighbor has opposed, and a bunch of us in Island View Lane have opposed here, and these people sent letters and opposed as well. And it was a little bit insulting that from the developer, so that you guys got this all in your package, but they basically downscaled our neighboring us here. They downscaled, and so it's not the scale. So you think, yeah, that there's all this green space. Anyways, this is the option I would go for that has the drive aisle, because you have this openness here, and it's just much more pleasing and it fits. So this is this is the proper scale with the homes on the side, and it shows that spacing so this doesn't shadow onto these homes. And this is the less attractive option with the 6 homes. So this is what I would not vote for. And this is where it was insulting that the developer did not do the neighbors to scale. There's not that much green space. This home is right against. So this is much more accurate where the home and the 3 meter spacings happen in here. And so, yeah, anyways, the visual is in your package. And yeah, thanks for listening to me. I just don't know what you guys' next step is, because then the next step on the agenda basically is to approve a permit. But then if you're not approving this variance, then, which I believe you won't, and then you just can't approve the permit as is.
Thank you, Val.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well presented. Yeah. Okay, Council, do you have any questions for staff at this time, or?
Mr. Mayor, sorry, we do have another speaker.
Oh, we do. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Udo Rosenberg. Mr. Rosenberg?
Yes, I'm here to support Val. She did a very good presentation regarding to the concerns that we do have at Valley View Lanes here, and how when we set up our own strata 10, 12 years ago, we made sure we had our own setback. If you look at the new development there on School Hill, on the hill here, it's a very large building and it takes a lot of room. And they have a 10.5 meter setback. We just want to have our 4.5 meter setback because they can still have their 3 meters or 3-story height buildings, and we feel it might be too much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rosenberg. Thank you. Okay, council, so where would you like to go? Right now, is there anybody else, corporate officer, to be speaking? Sorry.
No, at this time, Mr. Mayor, there are no further raised hands.
No. So the recommendation is that council authorize the issuance of the development varying permit and the development permit. Does council anybody wish to move that recommendation? Okay, seeing none. Is there any other recommendation the council wishes to make? Councillor Kroll.
It seems, trying to solve one problem, we created another. And I do apologize to the neighbors because, there was, the considerations in the suggestion that was proposed to the developer, was certainly valid in sort of reducing these great walls of housing, but obviously it has precipitated something that we didn't fully take into consideration. I don't know at this point whether we can, just because with the original development, we didn't need, there were no variances required, as I recall. So whether, we could say that the developer is within his right to go back to his original proposal and direct staff to proceed accordingly. And our regrets to the developer for making him jump through some extra hoops. But I think it's really important to have engagement from the neighborhood. And we've certainly heard from, neighbors who would be directly impacted by this project. So I would, if it's within procedure to suggest that we go back to the original proposal proposed by the developer and direct staff to proceed accordingly.
Hold that thought and I'll go to Councillor Lumley.
Yeah, I think I basically agree with Councillor Kroll, is that I think the decision to reduce massing was done from more of a maybe a stylistic or design aspect, and now that you've heard from the neighbors that are going to be directly impacted, and you see some of the images, not only did they say they were kind of against it, but they also said that they were for the original design. So you've already heard from the neighbors about the original design. So I'd have to agree with Councillor Kroll and not approve the variance and ask the developer. I mean, there's just a few pictures that they went through. I don't know how many hoops they jumped through, but somebody had to draw and color some things, but so is the case with developing. So I would agree with Councillor Kroll.
I do caution you that we have not heard from all of the neighbors relative to the previous design, but I hear what you're saying. Councillor Ladwick.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to commend Val on her report and just emphasize how valuable that is for council to hear, reasonable proposals that are well researched and well thought out presented to us. I think it really helps us make informed decisions. I don't know, Val, I don't know what you do for a living, but boy, you're good with computers. One thing that really struck me was the images that were in her report that showed the houses. Like, I think we all made that decision, or Councillor D'Andrade voted against it, I believe, but the rest of us just believing that we were making a more attractive looking subdivision. And that was really the only intent. But the neighboring houses really weren't that prominent in those images, and seeing them presented more prominently, I actually don't feel it does make the development any more attractive. And if it is opposed so much by the neighbors, then why there's no gain to be had. So I think it was a well-presented report. It's definitely given me new food for thought on the proposal, and I support Councillor Kroll and Councillor Lumley on this decision too.
Councillor D'Andrade.
Thank you. I appreciate the development, but from the onset, I was concerned with the encroachment, and that's why I voted against. But at the same time, I was concerned because originally this was an area for 16 buildings. And that's my concern. Suddenly there's the 20. And I understand we council wanted to resolve one issue and created another, but still, I still feel concerned that we're not going to address the issue of massing. And I would like a different solution, frankly, because I think it's a small area for the amount of buildings that, for 20 buildings, I particularly feel. And it's going to be like, I think the same feeling we had before. So I would prefer an alternative to, maintain the setbacks, but another alternative.
Yeah, I guess I'm cautious about. I mean, we rejected the first proposal for a reason, and I think that reason is still valid. It was just 3 very large structures on the property, and with not a lot of light through the property other than east to west. This new option, I think, provided that separation of the buildings, which could still be done. I just think I appreciate a developer wants to maximize the number of units he puts on a parcel, but it's incumbent upon us to also ensure that the overall the project meets with the what we want is how we want to see our community develop. If there was a narrower, one option might be to narrow the driveway between them, so that you take back that setback by making a narrower driveway. I don't know. I think I just a resolution this time to say we're going to reject this one, but we're going to accept the first one, puts us back square one, and I think that I'm not comfortable with that myself. I think there were valid reasons for looking in terms of what development looks like in the community. So I'm certainly with Councilor D'Andrade on that point. I would. Is there a way, Katie, in your view, that the setbacks could be reclaimed and still make this a viable project as it lays out?
There's a couple of options. I do have Zerben. He's in the gallery, and he does have his hand up. So maybe he's the architect, and he'll be able to speak to this. Potentially, the rear bench of buildings could possibly be pushed more to the west, which might create a slightly bigger setback on that east property line, which is the one that Val has been speaking to. But perhaps you can speak to Zerben, and he could potentially give us some options.
Okay, is it there? Zubin?
Hi, good evening, Mayor and members of the council. We did listen to some of the concerns raised by our neighbors. We understand them to some degree, and I'd like to clarify a few things. The neighbors are to the southeast. The sun being mostly in the south, we would have most of the shadow casting towards the north. So that would be a reduced, yes, the setback is reduced than the required amount. And we would have liked to give a larger setback, but there are constraints with the drive aisle width, which I'm sure would be required as per the transportation requirements and firefighting requirements. So I doubt we would be able to reduce the driveway anymore. We could try and reduce the sidewalks which we have provided. Not a good option, but that would gain us maybe a feet, 2-3 feet somewhere or the other, but it's not going to get the setbacks back to normal. Also, Mayor, I would like to just reiterate here that I do understand that we have proposing 20 units as compared to the previous option of 16, but we are still below the allowable bylaw of 22 numbers, and we are trying to make this development more conducive to the neighbors and not overcrowd the area, but at the same time try to give the best option to the developer as far as we can. So, I mean, so we're trying our best option. If there is another way out, we would have done that. We can still further try to move the buildings further west, where we have more single-family developments, which would have a slightly larger setback compared to the townhouse, but that's one of the options that we could look at.
Okay. Thank you. Is it council, is that any questions arising from that? Councillor Ladwig.
Sorry, Zubin, could you just repeat that last part? You said something about single families. I just didn't quite catch.
So if we move the development further towards the west, which is at 4.5 meters right now, if we were to reduce that to 3 meters, which many cities do allow, we could try and gain that 1.5 meter on the eastern property line, where we have a townhouse complex, where so the density on the eastern side is much more higher than that on the western side. So we might be able to save that. So at least from the first units, we could move few of the units further towards the west, if that would help.
But just to clarify, we'd still be requiring a variance on the other side.
Still be required.
Yeah, yes, most definitely we would be requiring that.
Yeah. But the what's the nature of this development, Zubin? Is this high end, low rental, or medium rental, or what are we looking at? Our ownership.
So the entire development is going to be a strata development. It's going to be a medium end. It's not going to be a high end residential. It's more about affordability, as nowadays you can't put the price point too high. So they are going to develop in a way that it's more about families coming in and joining in on the neighborhood. So I think they would be aiming for the medium price range as such.
Okay. Well, council, yeah. Council, yeah.
Just a clarification. So if the developer comes back with another project, doesn't mean we're gonna hear from the community again? Is it another process?
If there's a requirement for a variance, yes, we would, yeah. So if we change this and change the variance on the east side, the west side rather, it would then require another variance referral. Katie Thomas?
So the variance right now is for both sides. So the perhaps if I share my screen and show the map again, that would be helpful. So on the east side, they require a setback to the 3 meters for this corner of this building up here, which is building 1, which is on Hillcrest Road. Now the issue seems to be on this area here on the east property line. So the solution was that if we moved this bench of buildings further to the east, that would potentially create a slightly larger setback here, which is where the 728 Gibsons Way strata is. So even if they were to bring back a new design that was to move this bench towards the west, they would still require the same variance that they require today.
The same variance. Okay.
Yeah, so for instance, the building 1 bench would likely have to stay the 3 meters from the property line on both the east and the west. but potentially this building down here could be moved towards the west.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Zubin?
So, Katie, your point is valid, and we did think about that issue. So what we were planning to do was eliminating the two electrical closets which we have, and go for a more expensive option for the developer to do a central electrical station, so that we could actually, rather than having a setback of 3 meters from the electrical closets, have a setback of 3 meters from the building itself. And that way we would gain that little space, extra space that we have, and provide that to the eastern setback. So I don't know if you could just pull the plan up, Katie. I could, for both the buildings, maybe for the bench of buildings right along, yeah, so the buildings which are along Hillcrest, which do have that small little electrical closet that's punching out, we would eliminate that and move the whole bench of building 1 and 2 both again towards the west. So we are at 3 meters over there, and we would do the same thing for buildings 5 and 6. So we would eliminate that too and move 5 and 6 further west. And we could provide a larger electrical room just behind the mail room, such that we have an additional setback for both the benches of 5 and 6 and 1 and 2. However, buildings 3 and 4 would remain where they are because there isn't much space for me to move that. I can try and gain a few feet, but not further than that.
Katie, could you put up the overview map that shows the proximity to other residents in the area? Okay, so there's the property. So when we're talking about is 736 a developed lot on Gibsons Way today?
Yes, that's
yes, sorry.
That's one being developed now, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. And so yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of full lot coverage for the site. There's no doubt about it. I don't know if the Gibsons Way, if there's any setback variances on that one there when it was developed. I know there was talk of that trail going through, and then they ended up putting the trail through on the driveway. Yeah, Councillor Lumley.
Yeah, I feel like I'm been transported into a planning and development.
Yeah,
committee.
definitely. Yeah.
For the sake of, I think everyone's against the variance. So just for the sake of this meeting, maybe we could, if it's going to have to come back anyway, I would imagine, after we don't approve the variance, or if maybe we do approve it, I don't know, but it'd be nice to go to a vote, and it would have to hopefully maybe come back to planning development, and then all these things we're discussing can be discussed.
I agree. I think that's where it's going to have to go, because we're taking up tonight's meeting and there's much other business on the agenda, and we're just redesigning this site here. So I think was Councillor Kroll's motion seconded? Okay, I'm going to go to
No, it wasn't, Mr. Mayor.
Director of Planning.
Thank you, Mayor. So if the PDC likes the design, the broken up massing, and would support a variance on one side of the property, or sorry, if council wants to do that, council can authorize the variance on one side and proceed with the design as suggested. And then it doesn't have to go back to PDC unless there's more changes. And if there's more changes, then they'll need some more direction on what that's going to look like.
Councillor Ledwig.
Obviously, I shouldn't speak for other councillors, but it doesn't sound like there's a lot of support for either variance, and it doesn't sound like there's support for the single massing. So, I mean, maybe the direction should simply be maybe third time's a charm. I'm not sure where else to go from here.
Well, and I think I think going back to committee and seeing it, I mean, unless there's a resolution and we hear a resolution from council relative to the option that was presented, and that was to amend the variances. Council
No one's willing to move it, so no one's going to move the recommendation. So
you're going to move the recommendations?
No, I said no one's willing to. Like
nobody's willing. I say exactly. Yeah,
they're non-issue.
Yeah.
Maybe my concern is, the neighbors spoke clearly and loudly. So to say, well, we're going to push here, and then the developer is going to go back, and then we're going to have another variance, and they're going to say the same. They're going to say the same, because it was not neighbors from one side. It was from the entire neighborhood. So I suggest that this goes back to the PDC with an option, with different options.
Yeah, well, at this point in time, Councillor Kroll did make a motion. It was not seconded. The motions that are on the agenda have not been seconded. So at this, with seeing no further motions coming from council, this dies at this time and goes back to Planning and Development Committee. Okay. Zubin, I'm sorry that didn't work out. There's going to be a solution there. I'm sure you're going to find it, and I'm not sure that what that's going to be yet. So, but it's a big project being put into the neighborhood, and trying to make it fit and make it right is really what council is concerned about. And we've heard from the neighbors, and they have the right to express their views as we would want them to. So. Yeah. So we will move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us. Okay. Yeah. And this is from the Director of Corporate Services, and this is the 2021 meeting schedules. And so that council has had a chance to look at the meeting schedules. They haven't changes from Tuesdays, and so we're still going to block off our Tuesdays for the rest of our lives. Pretty soon it'll be the 2022 meeting schedule, and then you'll be able to see the end of it. So that for some of us, so council like to make a motion that the council committee of the whole and planning and development committee meeting schedules be adopted as presented for 2021. Councillor Kroll, Councillor D'Andrade, all in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, so we know what we're doing for the next 12 months. Council reports. Opportunity for first one though, I'd like to deal with 12.1. Now, how are we in time? We're still okay time. 12.1 is the appointments and the report relative to council liaison appointments. Resolution in front of you. I thank Councillor D'Andrade for accepting the role as deputy mayor of this year. I promised her that I'd stay around town as much as I could, wouldn't take holidays, and would never get sick, and all those good things. And Councillor Kroll will take on the role of the chair of the Planning and Development Committee, with thanks to Councillor Ladwig, who's had this in the past year. I would like to, and Councillor Kroll and council, I would like to talk probably to our director of planning about maybe looking at some of her ideas relative to different ways of doing planning, but we'll do that over the course of the next few months. And then the council liaisons are pretty much the same, unless council wants to step up and make any changes. The one that I've left open is right now it's the Public Art Advisory Committee. I'm currently on that one. If anybody would rather be, certainly don't mind staying there, but if anybody is interested in that, that's a new committee we put into places last year. We have right now 5 members of the public who are also on that committee. And if nobody else is burning to be on the Public Art Advisory Committee, I will continue to hold that role. We meet monthly, so. Okay. Councillor Ladwig.
I'm really interested in that one. I don't think I could do 4. So
Yeah.
you and I could talk on the side.
Yeah, and remember that not every one of these committees is filled every year. They often don't get filled, so that if there is any committee that you would see at this point in time that you would like to move from to something else, you're certainly welcome to do that. Suggest that. One thing about liaisons, I'd like to reiterate with council, they seem to be they shouldn't be a chore. They are intended to be, the organization knows and will be informed that you are appointed by council to liaise with them for the purpose of any issues that they might have, they want to bring to council's attention, or for bringing information to their attention from council. If, for example, there's something comes out of a meeting that you think that your committee should know about, you give the chair a call. You don't have to attend every meeting. You're not on the board. It should not be seen to be as such. Very often, when these appointments take place, you tend to kind of become very involved with the organization you're liaising with, but that is a liaison role, not a membership role, and not a board seat at the table where you vote on things. So you don't have to feel badly if you're unable to make a meeting, or if you're just doing a check-in with people. All that being said, I don't want to put extra burden on you. You're welcome to take on that role with the Arts Committee. And the only reason I was chair of this year is because we got it started. They actually could sit down and elect another chair for that committee from their perspective. But is everybody comfortable with the other appointments? I think we've talked that through. Okay. And Councilor D'Andrade, I'm happy to relinquish the Art Committee. I'm happy to continue with it also. The regional district role, as David knows, is a very heavy one. That I'm taking that on as well. So, okay, seeing nothing happening, I will continue with the Public Arts Advisory Committee, and so a motion then to where are we? A motion that the motion as it appears on the table on the agenda. Councilor Diaz, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Kroll is Chair of the Planning and Development Committee, and the 2020 Liaison Committees be appointed as follows, with the addition of Mayor Beamish as on the Public Arts Advisory Committee. Someone care to move that? Moves along. Councilor Kroll, thank you. Seconded by Councilor Lumley, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Moved along. Okay, I think we're going to need more time tonight, folks. Councilor D'Andrade, go ahead.
I just noticed that the House Sound is not here, but there's a motion later on, so I wonder, but just a reminder that it was not included here.
Okay, thank you. So how late do you want to stay tonight? Yeah. So 9:30. Resolution, someone make that motion. Councilor Kroll, Councilor D'Andrade, that the meeting continue to 9:30. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. It was unanimous. Moving on to bylaws, we have OCP amendment bylaw for mixed use gateway. Recommendation that the amendment be given third reading. Somebody care to move that? Councilor Kroll, Councilor D'Andrade, discussion. All in favor? Thank you. I'm going to take one more, then I'm going to take a step back. The zoning amendment bylaw on 1065 mixed use gateway. That zoning amendment be given third reading. All in favor? Or sorry, moved by Councilor Kroll, Councilor D'Andrade again. All in favor? Thank you. I just want to take a step back to council reports, because this one was on it as 12.1. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight under council reports was our homeless shelter and the lack of a homeless shelter in Gibsons at this time. and concerned with that. I think that what I would like to do is convene a meeting. We don't have to resolve this tonight, but if we don't do anything, we are ensuring that the homeless are out in the cold, at least until the supportive housing is developed. And that is only for those people who qualify for going into supportive housing. That may not be all of the homeless in our community. And I appreciate that there's a workaround that's being worked on to transport people or make it available for them to go to Seashelt. But I'm not sure that is a satisfactory solution for people in our community. I would like to have a meeting to discuss this, and I just wonder about council's availability or those who want to participate in that meeting. And we would try to include the BC Housing and Rain City in that conversation. There seemed to be some suggestion that we were informed last year that it would not be a homeless shelter this year. I certainly don't recall participating in that conversation. And I do recall that we provided space last year because the Salvation Army had burned and that they were not able to take it on. And that they did not take it on subsequently, but it was no suggestion that there would not be a homeless shelter in Gibsons in 2020. So that what is council's availability? Is there a day of this week or an hour of this week? The manager of the library would also like to be involved in that conversation. And so I'm going to go, Councilor Lumley, I saw your hand first.
Yeah, tomorrow. There's no point waiting.
Okay.
It's not getting any warmer, and you know.
It's not. Yeah. Do we have a time that works in the day? Because I know you guys are busy on your schedules. Let me just take a look at mine as well.
I can do in the morning.
I'm okay in the afternoon. I have a plumbing inspection on my new house in the morning coming, but that's at 10 o'clock. I could meet before 10, or I could meet in the afternoon. Councilor Lumley?
Early afternoon would be perfect.
Okay.
Afternoon works for me too.
Sorry, early afternoon? Councilor D'Andrade?
No, I can't because I have commitments, but that's okay. I can do in the morning early.
Okay, Councilor Crowell?
I'm available anytime, so the afternoon's fine.
Okay. Okay, could you call in, Councilor D'Andrade, or you're tied up?
I'm not sure, but
Okay.
I support what was going on today, and I think it's a great. I think Councilor Crow made some suggestions. I'm really supportive. I think we need to find a solution.
Can we suggest then 1:30? Does that work for everybody? Okay, we'll try to set that up. CAO, are you available?
Yes, I am, Mr. Mayor. I'll send that invite shortly.
Okay, appreciate that, and see if we can include BC Housing and Rain City and Heather from the library as well.
Okay.
And there may be some others who are interested, parties who would like to join us by telephone. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. We just need to talk about this. We can't leave people out in the cold as much. Councilor Cole?
I don't know if we should include the museum. I sort of suggested to them at a meeting I had earlier in the week with them that obviously the Marine Room, because of capacity, would likely not be used. So, the impact on the museum, as they had a bit of an issue last year. Perhaps just out of courtesy, we should extend an invitation to them as well.
Okay, my only thought is we're not talking location right now. We're talking getting a program going, and
I realize the library is because of the role they played with providing an alternate daytime facility for people to get out of the weather.
And Heather's just wants to see people taken care of.
Right. Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. Do we need a motion to that effect? Okay, we just all agreed that we will get together at 1:30 tomorrow and talk about this issue. Okay, And Manny will arrange the Zoom connection for us. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, we've done 13. New business. Councilor D'Andrade, let the fireworks begin.
Actually, I was going to, is it possible to switch to have 14.2 addressed first?
Possible by me. I mean, it's just, I often make mistakes like this, but it does require an amendment to the agenda, to resolution to amend the agenda to allow 14.2 to be, yeah. So moved. Councillor Kroll, were you seconding that? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Ladwig, were you seconding that? Okay. Discussion on that issue. All in favor of 14.2 ahead of 14.1? Change in order. Thank you very much. Okay, Councillor D'Andrade, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'll try to be brief. As you probably all of you know, we had in October 23rd, we had the House Sound Community Forum. Mayor Beamish was there and Councilor Crowe as well, and our CAO. There was actually two big celebrations. One was the launch of the Ocean Watch House Sound 2020, which is an update from their 2017 version. And then there was also a big step in the UNESCO Biosphere Reserve, because on September 2nd, they received their final endorsement from Canadian Commission for UNESCO. So the nomination package has now been sent to UNESCO Paris for review and to start the journey to final official designation. So if everything goes well, we will be receiving the news at I think August 2021. And one of the suggestions that came up from this meeting was also that a local government resolution, which is here presented, with the addition of the fourth resolution that I actually discussed with the CAO to see if it was viable, and he said it's not a problem. So should I read, or do I have to read, or maybe you would read?
I don't mind reading them if you like. Has everybody had a read? Does anybody have any questions about the resolutions? Okay, would you wish to move the resolutions, Councilor D'Andrade, as written?
Yes, I would like to move all the resolutions.
Do we have a seconder?
Yeah.
I'll second. Okay. And as Councilor D'Andrade said, the House Sound Forum, these are resolutions that came out of the House Sound Forum, and that Councilor CAO and Councilor D'Andrade will be continue on the Ocean Watch Action Committee. Any discussion? No discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Councilor D'Andrade, for that as well, and for your participation on that committee.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
Now, let's go back to the fireworks. Councilor Kroll?
We did skip over council reports, and there was just something I wanted to acknowledge there involving Elphinstone High School.
Okay, well, we didn't skip over it. We're just kind of trying to manage an agenda that so we get out of here tonight, but that's okay. If you go ahead on Elphinstone High School.
Just very quickly, the students of Elphinstone worked at the Seaview Cemetery and the Gibsons Legion to help prep the facilities for Remembrance Day. And I think it's, I really commend the students for taking on the initiative. And, you know, I had occasion to visit the cemetery, and there was a noticed marked improvement in just sort of a general tidy up, new flag flying. So, you know, kudos to the students for their involvement with the community.
Good. Thank you for that. And Gravity, were you involved?
Yes, it was the leadership class, which I'm a student in, and we do it most it's a tradition we've been doing for a long time, and it's a really nice gesture. And
Okay, well, thank you. And Evie, if you're involved too, thank you. And please pass that on to other students.
I will. I'll let them know in next class.
Thank you very much. Okay. Okay. We're going to get to fireworks. I'm sure we are. Councilor DeAndrade, fireworks.
Okay,
And,
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think last time I brought the concern because, I had some neighborhood feedback, and I myself, I was here, and the fireworks were extremely loud. It was not just like regular fireworks here and there. It was for a long period of time. It was like a very loud. And I understand that many people love fireworks, and I love myself, but at the same time, I saw a lot of complaints through. So it's a balance view. Some people want the firework, and there's a lot of people that have concerns. We know the impacts that have, into people's health, into the pets, and wildlife itself. I think I mean, as even per your suggestion, was like just to start a conversation. And I know that Vancouver put a ban, and the reasons were to reduce property damage. I'm not aware that we had in the past property damage in the town or anybody got hurt. But the reality is we are growing, we are becoming more denser. So we are becoming more like a more urban environment as we go. And there's also a lot of fireworks that are not approved, they are not legal, and they can have consequences in terms of, I saw a lot of complaint, as the same complaint that I had this time, that fireworks were really louder than any time in the past. So I think I gave a look on our legislation, and I also saw about insurance, right? That because this is one concern as well. If someone damage a property, do they have insurance to cover, or they damage someone? And I asked the CAO in terms of insurance, because my understanding is that the insurance has to be collected by the town, but I couldn't understand very well the issue. So if I could have a better understanding. So I was just trying to initiate the conversation. Ultimately, it's not my decision. And it's ultimately a risk assessment that we all have to make in order to support a legislation or not. But I hear that we don't have capacity, but we have a bylaw. You have one person that get the permit, but there was a lot of noises in our town. It happened in many areas, and it happened outside our town as well. So I would like to hear from the CAO, if I can, about the liability insurance that people have to take, and how council feels. And it's not my decision. That's how I feel. I feel it could be a potential liability.
Your recommendation is that the Town of Gibsons Firework Bylaw 1034/2006 and any firework regulations from the province of BC be brought to council for process review and discussion. Is that something that just kind of come forward in terms of a report sometime between now and, say, the end of summer, before next October, so we could deal with it?
I'm happy, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like to follow up with this issue, right? So
yeah, so
the council can decide different direction, but I felt like obliged to bring the issues, because
I think if we if you move the resolution and it passes, and that's what I would anticipate that we'd do. We'd look for council staff, and you might even want to add to that resolution, be brought forth for process review and discussion before July or by July of 2021, so that if council wished to make any changes, it could be done before Halloween, before October. Yeah,
that's okay. Yeah.
But you make that motion and somebody second that? Councillor Kroll? Second it, or?
Just a clarification. Is this going to come, this report going to come back to council, or is it going to come to committee?
At this point in time, it would come to council, be brought to council for process review, for process review and discussion. It's not really a plan. I mean, it could come to the could come to committee, but it's Director of Planning, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just have questions on like clarification. What is the intent of the review and the process? What is the goal around this report, so we can look at implications or try to address something that you're looking for or asking for? I'm just not clear on what the report would say other than present the bylaw, which is already in front of you.
Councilor Drad, you're looking for options relative to regulation and the insurance, I imagine, and I haven't looked at the bylaw, to be quite honest with you, but the insurance is usually for if somebody is issued a permit, that person is responsible to have an insured event. And not only that, I think there's supposed to be a licensed fireworks operator.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I see hands up. Councillor Lumley.
Yeah, I think, I don't think anyone's naive enough to know what the councillors brought this forward for. And I think great, it's good for discussion. And I think we should move it, and it'll come back to council at some point for further discussion with the current bylaw, and we should move on. Those are my thoughts. I'm sure Councillor DeAndre wants to abolish the fireworks, which is okay. That's what she believes. Some people don't, but yeah, I think it's good that she moved, or she made this recommendation. I'd like to move it and come back in the future for discussion. I think we shouldn't just keep harboring on it right now. I think it's here, and so I'd like to move this motion. I'd like to move this recommendation.
I think Councilor DeAndrade did move it, so we'll take you as a seconder, and I'm going to go then to Councilor Ladwig.
I don't know. I read the bylaw. I was thrilled to see the fireworks are banned, because I think that's where the big source of complaints come from. We can't even enforce what we currently have. I don't know, unless we're about to get a new bylaw, a second bylaw officer, I don't know how we're going to improve the situation. I personally, I have to be honest, we've got 2 years left, and we've already, through our strategic planning session today, talked about a lot of other priorities. I'm just not so sure that I want to dedicate staff time to this. It's just my position on it.
Councillor Kroll.
As Councillor Ladwig said, the bylaws in place, firecrackers are outlawed. To me, the big issue is capacity of bylaw to enforce it. If people don't take out permits and they're using fireworks and they cause damage, they haven't got insurance because they haven't posted the liability insurance to cover damage, because they're doing something exceptional. So to me, it becomes a huge issue of bylaw enforcement. If people aren't taking out permits and are buying fireworks elsewhere and setting them off, do we have the capacity to enforce it? And if someone does cause property damage, if they don't have a permit, they're not going to have the insurance. It seems to go hand in glove. So the two questions I would have is, does staff have the capacity to bring a report back between now and July? And do we have the bylaw enforcement capacity to enforce what's existing now? And I'm suspecting we don't.
Okay, further comments, discussion? I mean, it's a big issue to take on at 9:15 in the evening, and we're running to, I don't mind a future discussion on it. And I think that's probably valuable, but it's not top of mind right now to me. If it came back in the spring, even if the bylaw was put in front of us in the spring for further discussion, it would be okay. I understand the capacity issue, so I will support the resolution and to take a look at the bylaw collectively. I would like to come to the committee though, and as opposed to coming back to council where we can maybe talk about a little bit more depth, if that's if the mover and seconder are okay with that. Come back to committee as opposed to council. Yeah. Okay. Councillor Lumley. Come to committee. Okay.
And I'll support it coming to committee.
Okay. Okay, so if it comes back to committee, we don't have any direction for you for the planner. We'll just let's see it come back. Let's talk about it then. So maybe sooner than July. Let's just put it on an agenda and we'll discuss it. Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Councillor D'Andrade, for bringing it forward. Final item we have there is the One Straw Society food charter. Recommendation that the Sunshine Coast food charter be endorsed. Somebody like to move that? Councillor Kroll, Councillor Ladwig. Did I see your hand, Councillor Ladwig? Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you on that. I do apologize for going over the committee reports, council reports, but I will give Councillor Guinard a chance if there's anything you wanted to report tonight, Gravity.
Well, we at Elphinstone, I mean, there's not really any big developments, I guess, within, like, there's not really any big things I can think of that are too pressing at the moment. So I don't have a report.
Okay, thank you very much. I just didn't want to not give you that opportunity. Councillor Kroll.
Just to go back to the shopping on the coast, I'm certainly with you that I would challenge anyone to try and live between now and the new year without Amazon or the big box stores, and where possible, support local businesses. The Sunshine Coast Hockey Association are doing the Festival of Lights this year. Last year, Search and Rescue had 55 local businesses support a nonprofit charity in the community. And that's huge. We got no money from Amazon. We got no money from Costco. And we don't get any money from them. It's the local people who support initiatives in the community. And with the struggle they've had this year, I can only advocate that we shop local. It's, because if we don't support them, we're not going to have them. It's that simple.
Okay, I've lost control of this meeting, obviously, but that's okay. Let's go to inquiries, please. Corporate Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'll ask anybody who's in the meeting as an attendee to please use the raise the hand feature found at the bottom of the screen, and we'll turn on your audio and video. And I'm not seeing any, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Next meeting, next regular meeting of council is Tuesday, December 1st, 2020, 7 p.m. For those of you who are available, we'll see you tomorrow at 1:30. And motion to adjourn. Councillor D'Andrade, Councillor Kroll, all in favor? Okay, get a good night's sleep, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank